Welcome to the George on Collins, my restaurant in Melbourne. I've got a Thai-style pork larb for you today, served two ways. One, how I would do it in the restaurant, and another for you guys at home. So I've got some garlic here that's going straight into my mortar and pestle. Some bird's eye chilies, because I do want a little bit of heat in this. Now, for those of you at home that doesn't like too much heat, feel free to use a long red instead, but it definitely does need chili. We've got some coriander root here, which is absolutely beautiful, not used as much as it should be. We've got some ginger. I'm gonna just slice them up just so that it's really easy to pound down into a paste. I've got some shallots here. Now, I'm not gonna add them all in. I'll see how I go. Now, let's get pounding. What you want to do is make this into a paste. So you want it pretty well combined, so you can do it in a mortar and pestle or in a food processor if you can't be bothered. I do love using a mortar and pestle, but about halfway through I go, oh, it would have been so much easier if I just used a food processor. Anyway, this is the texture that you want. It's a paste. It smells really fragrant, really beautiful. Coriander definitely comes through, spice from the chili, and also those shallots. Now let's get a hot pan on. We're gonna add some peanut oil. And then as soon as that comes to temperature, we're gonna spoon all of these beautiful aromats that we've pounded up into there. We just want this to cook down, to get a little bit brown for all of those beautiful flavors to combine. As you can see, I'm keeping the paste moving because I don't want it to catch and burn, because it gets pretty bitter when it does burn. So you want to move it around, make sure it's happy, make sure that all parts of the paste is getting kind of contact with the pan and the heat. This would be a great base to a curry as well if you wanted to add some salt into there and then some coconut milk, or a broth, like maybe a chicken stock would be great as well. But today we are making a larb, so we won't be adding too much moisture. That's drying out nicely. We're getting a little bit of colour on it. I think another 30 seconds, and then in goes our pork. As you get a little bit of colour into this, make sure that you are keeping it moving so all the pork combines and gets that beautiful flavour through it. Now I'm going to add in some water chestnut. The texture in this is really beautiful. The water chestnuts provide a nice little bite to it. They're actually one of the only ingredients that don't break down once they've been heated up, so the texture remains the same no matter if they're raw or cooked. All right, let's get some nice colour on that. Just going to leave it to cook for about a minute. That's looking beautiful. Time to add in a little bit of sweetness, which you'll get from some palm sugar. If you can't find palm sugar, feel free to add in some caster sugar, some honey even, beautiful molasses, anything just to add a little bit of sweetness, but today I'll be using the palm sugar. In goes a little bit of fish sauce. This is part of the seasoning, so this will add a little bit of saltiness, nice umami fragrance to it too. A little bit of ketchup mayonnaise, which is a sweetened dark soy that adds a lot of flavour, absolutely gorgeous, and colour as well. Mix him up. Now I want this to dry out a bit, so what I'm going to do is just let it sit there and do its thing for about 2-3 minutes. So that's looking good. It's dried out a little bit now. Exactly the texture and wetness that I need. So I'm going to turn that heat off. Pour him into a mixing bowl, because we do want it to cool down a bit before we add the herbs in. We don't want the herbs to wilt too much. It is served warm, not hot. I'm just going to set this aside. So I've got my herbs here. I've got some beautiful Thai basil, some mint, and some coriander. What I want to do with these guys is give it a little chop, or what the French call a chiffonade, so they're all very thin and beautiful, and they'll just go right through our pork larb. little bit of fun. I always love serving this dish with watermelon because the freshness and the sweetness really balances it out really well. All I'm gonna do is slice myself a nice thick piece of watermelon. I want to score a rectangle piece, so I'm just gonna chop that off. Eat it. So, got a nice little slab of watermelon here. I will make him a tiny bit thinner so you can get a spoon through him. So the watermelon's done. I'm gonna show you how to plate it for yourselves at home if you want some carbs, some kind of beautiful noodles. So I've got some Hokkien noodles here or a thicker egg noodle. That's gonna go straight into my little pan that I use to cook all of that meat in. We're gonna take half of this mixture, pop that in with the noodles. Gonna throw some of these herbs over the top. Have a nice slice of half a long red chili, reserving the other half for my other dish. That's gonna go straight in. Turn the heat up just so that it warms it up a tiny bit and give it a nice toss. So that's ready. I'm just gonna take that off the heat and into a serving bowl that I've lined with a little bit of banana leaf, which you'll find in an Asian grocer, fresh or sometimes and most likely in your frozen section. Beautiful, gorgeous. We're gonna top that with a couple of these leaves of the herbs, just to reintroduce them. A little sprinkling of some crushed roasted peanuts. And now for the second part. We've got the mince back. We've got the herbs going in. Give this a nice toss. The peanuts are going straight in. Another little mix. Once that's done, slicing up long red chili. We're gonna spoon this over the watermelon. Gorgeous those chilies are. All right, we're gonna top this with some of the herbs. A little bit more of those dustings of peanuts just over the top. So you can see here, I've got basically the same meal. I've just replaced the noodles with some watermelon. This would be a great entree, absolutely beautiful. This one would be a main. Really easy substitution. Try it at your dinner party next because it's quite impressive. This is my pork larb 2 ways.